A reign of terror, if you will, for Seth Ingram in Tel Aviv on the tail end of a collegiate and Rome International Film Festival RIF partnership trip to Israel. You were supposed to fly out, and of course they shut the airport down. So you spent an extra 5 days, I guess some of them there in Tel Aviv, and then from what I understand, you got out of the country a rather circuitous route.
Yeah, we were guests of the foreign ministry. We were on a delegation for arts and entertainment representing the Southeast and trying to find collaborations to work with Israeli artists and schools and students. And it was a fantastic trip. We had traveled all over the country. We spent time in the South and then in Jerusalem. And then we were in Tel Aviv, obviously ready to return home. We were actually, there was 3 flights on our delegation, and we were on the last flight out, and the other 2 got out, and as we were driving to the airport, those dreaded, terrifying sirens go off, and we get told to turn around and go shelter in place at the hotel. So that was an interesting experience, and that was the day that it was Friday the 13th, too, which was, we should have known something was up.
You probably never been a superstitious person in your life until then, huh?
So, so we sheltered in place, and I think there were 9 of us from the delegation left, and we had made a lot of friends while we were over there, and so we had people that we continued to visit with even during the time that we were left over there. But I don't know if people are familiar with just the daily life of what it's like for Israeli citizens, especially in recent times. Just there's an app that you have on your phone, and it alerts you to be near a bomb shelter, and it gives you like a 15-minute warning, and then it gives you a 5-minute warning, and then when the sirens in the town sound, it means you have about a minute and a half until impact. And so from the time that we came back, that next night there were several attacks, but the night after was the retaliation from Iran, and it was just nonstop for 2 days of just constantly being summoned down to the bomb shelter which is a room in the basement of the hotel. And Israelis know, they have a sense of when it's a serious, they call it just trolling sometimes. They think they're just shooting a bomb over just to keep them up, get them out of bed at night, but they knew that this is a serious attack. So lots of the community, not just the people in the hotel, come to go to that shelter. And it was a little crowded the first night.
Well, so I was going to ask, you're in a hotel.
Yeah.
So how big is a shelter, is a bomb shelter for a hotel?
Well, and it was, I don't know if the hotel was not at maximum capacity, so we could all fit in there as just the hotel residents. But when people from the community start coming in as well, it got pretty crowded. And the shelter itself was used for storage by the hotel. So after that first night, myself and some people on our delegation, and we'd met this French guy who was Tristan, who was there for a wedding. We decided that we were packed in there like sardines, and it was hot, and we decided as soon as we got a break, we're going to clean this thing out. So we took it upon ourselves to make some space, get some air filtration going through there, to make it a little more comfortable for everyone that was there stuck during that time. And we all, I think we call it trauma bonding, but we all kind of bonded during that time. And when you're under the threat of a missile attack, there's really not much you can do other than just kind of like a tornado.
You ride it out.
Yeah, just ride it out, be safe. They encourage you to go to the bomb shelters because they have the Iron Dome system, but one of the worst parts is when it explodes missiles in the sky, there's shrapnel that can fall and hit you and things like that. So that's why they encourage everyone to be in a shelter. But just when those attacks are going on, and even when the Iron Dome's catching them, being in the basement, you don't know what's what, and you just hear. It was rattling the hotel at times, and you would hear the explosions, and then several got through the dome that night, and then the day that we left, a building only a few blocks from our hotel was hit. So, but
now, for those perhaps who are not familiar, the Iron Dome Israeli missile defense system is fundamentally born out of the U.S. Patriot missiles for the most part, isn't it?
I don't know all of the answers to all of that. But yes, I think that sounds accurate.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part. Of course, the Israelis have done a magnificent job of developing their own technologies, but that Patriot missile system is a big part of that. But, like you just alluded to, when they're firing, who knows how many missiles at you.
Yeah, and when you see it from the sky, I mean, you've all seen the photos on the news when it's going on, but it just looks like there's a constant cloud hovering above the city, and then missiles will just randomly start coming down, and other missiles. It's hard to tell what's going on and where the missiles are coming from or who's firing at who. But it's yes, definitely. I was glad they had the Iron Dome while we were there, 100%.
For sure. Well, now I want to come back to that a little bit in the second segment, but as we wind up this first segment here, tell us a little bit about the partnership between RIF and some of the colleges over there, and why you were there in the first place.
Yeah, so we've been working with the Israeli Foreign Ministry for a few years now at RIF, and I was a guest and a juror and a panelist at Cinema South Film Festival, which is in Sderot in the south of Israel, in 2022. So we got to know a lot of the students and faculty, and we were planning to bring some of them over to RIF that following year, and then that's 1 month before RIF happens in early November. In October, the attacks happened in Israel. And Yohav Winter, the faculty that we were planning to bring over, and one of the students, he was murdered during the October the 7th attack. And I'd been on the phone with him, the day before the attack, helping arrange the trip. So when you have a personal connection to it, I know a lot of people, we see it on the news and it doesn't mean as much to it, but when you actually know people and stuff, it really affects you a lot differently. So we've created an award in Yohav's honor, award for courage in filmmaking, that we're going to be presenting at the festival. So we announced that while we were there in Israel, and met with the students, some of his former students.
Mm-hmm.
But we were there. The mission was to find partnerships with schools. We went to Sam Spiegel University. Sam Spiegel is the producer who produced Lawrence of Arabia and some other things, and he left an endowment.
What a classic!
Yeah. So he left a big endowment, to my understanding, to start this film school in Jerusalem. We met with some of their faculty. We met with Ono University. We had movie producers, music producers, podcasters, all on our trip. So we were talking to different segments of students in kind of the entertainment field. And the Israeli students really feel trapped. They don't have a lot of opportunity. Israel's the size of New Jersey, and they have their own kind of entertainment industry there, but it's very small, and they're looking for opportunities on ways that they can broaden their horizons and get out more. So when you have a connection with those students, and you see how they live, and you really feel sorry for the citizens there. They don't have much like we have. We don't have control of what happens in our higher echelons of government. They're often just the victims of circumstance, and you feel sorry for their plight and all that they're dealing with. They have very, very varied opinions about everything. It's not just one homogenous opinion, as you can imagine, but sometimes it's portrayed that way on the news.
But I think you were telling me before we went on the air that at one of the schools, a lot of Arab students, and actually right down there at Gaza. Yeah,
in Superior University, which is the school that we have the partnership with at RIF, and they present Cinema South Film Festival. They're on the Gaza Strip. They're right near the Gaza Strip. Many of their students, before the attacks, came in from Gaza, and they're still family and friends. The students is half Arab, half Israeli or other folks, and so they're still. I mean, there's not like they don't have friends across the border with each other, and they're still. And so it's much more complicated, and than people think it is. And you think that it's just everybody in Gaza feels this way, and everybody in Israel feels this way, and it's really not that simple when you get down to it. And the way it affects families and the way it affects all of them, and just to have to live under the constant threat of sirens and bombs for all of them, you feel very sorry for them.
You were supposed to fly out, and of course they shut the airport down. You were there in Tel Aviv in a hotel for how many days?
We were there for 3 full nights, and we left on the 4th night to get out.
And how did that happen?
So, being guests of the foreign ministry, they were responsible for us being there, so they wanted us out as soon and as safely as possible. So we took a bus from Tel Aviv to a rare crossing in Jordan on the West Bank, where no one is really allowed to cross other than Palestinian citizens and diplomats, to my understanding. And when we pull up to this gate, there's truckers cross through there too, and there's miles back up of these trucks trying to get through this gate because everyone's shut down. No one's been going anywhere. But we pull up to the front of the line in our van. They usher us out. We go into this little truck stop kind of place is the best way I can put it. This little border crossing, lots of security, lots of we didn't know what to expect, so we had a big group with us, and they processed us, got us. We were there for maybe 3 or 4 hours. They were searching bags. It was a little. We didn't know what was going on. We had
a little dicey.
A little dicey. We had an interpreter there, but we were just trying to keep our head down and just get through it. And there was some scary moments that I don't really want to go into for protection of some of the other people on our trip, but we all made it through, completely safe. And then for a couple of miles, go through the West Bank, we felt nervous. And then once we got through, we were on a bus at that point, and like a regular tour bus, and they took us all the way to Amman, Jordan, to that airport. And once we got to the airport, we were greeted, and they knew we were there. We had like another 6 or so hours before we were going to catch a Royal Jordanian flight, and the first one out they could get it was to Rome, but not Rome, Georgia, to Rome, Italy. So we flew to Rome, Italy, and at this point, the airspace in Jordan had been closed, and so they had just opened it those few hours before we got out, and so we were a little nervous. Once we cleared the airspace, they flew us down south and kind of over Africa, then up. So we took a little unusual route to avoid some of the airspace that was not safe. But we got there, and once we landed in Rome, there was much rejoicing from the group. And but during the time that we were there, though, the group, so we bonded, a lot of us, some of us that were on the trip, as well as some of the locals that we spent a lot of time with, and other guests at the hotel too. So we all have a very unique experience and a story to tell. And we were all relieved to get home, and there were still many others that were over there that we had been in contact with. So we were all of us on the delegation were all constantly emailing, WhatsApping, keeping status of some of those others that were trying to get out. My friend Tristan, who was from France, who was there for a wedding, he had small children at home, and he was stuck, and so I was following him. I was trying to make contacts for him to get out. He ended up going a very similar route, but there's not a lot of safe options. They were you could go out through Cyprus on a boat, and those was very expensive to do that. And but there was no airspace open, so people were just kind of sheltering in place, waiting it out. And it was, I don't know how long it took them, maybe 10 or 12 days before they got the airport was safe to open again. So now I assume people are still flying out. I'm sure it's not, tourism is not booming as normal, but
no.
But anyway, there was a very interesting experience to go through, and when you're in a delegation like that in a foreign country and you don't know what's going on, you just you feel like the product being shipped, but we were just trying to be as safe as we could, and we felt that the foreign ministry took great care of us. We had, Aaron Braunstein was on the trip with us, who's the consulate.
Down in the communications office with the consulate in Atlanta.
So having him there was really nice because he was in constant contact and organizing. I'm sure this is not what he'd intended on organizing,
No, I imagine not.
And we had lots of plans. We had strategy A, strategy B. We had contingency plans if something didn't go right. So. And
we got just about a minute, but tell us a little bit about the partnership between RIF and Georgia Highlands and the colleges over there is going to continue.
Yes, we're going to continue. So we're still in talks at the festival with Cinema South, which their festival was supposed to take place in July, and they moved it to November, right on top of our dates. So we're going to still bring some of their, at least a student and a faculty member over from Cinema South. We're working on some partnerships through the ministry to maybe travel some more students. We're talking about doing some projects where the students would get to go, send a student there to make a documentary about one of their students and send a student here to make a documentary about one of our students, just as a cultural exchange. But we're going to continue the partnership, so you'll see some of their students, filmmakers over here, and they can tell their story. And I really encourage those who attend the Rome Film Festival, which is November 6th through the 9th this year, to engage with those people that come visit, because it's a very unique experience for them, and they like to know that people on the outside are supporting them. And it'll really impact you once you get to know them, hear their stories. It's not as, like I said, it's not as simple as people think it is. The way of life over there is very challenging for, as you can imagine, being under those kinds of threats all the time.
Awesome. Seth, thank you much for coming in. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Doug.
Glad you got back safely.
Yeah, good to be here.